You are 100% right. Someone is trying to destroy your life. But before you panic, before you start thinking of a real person, listen carefully. Because the story you are about to hear is not about a secret enemy hiding in the shadows. It is about something far more dangerous. And when the name is finally revealed, most people refuse to believe it. Tonight's story begins at 2:17 in the morning. A man named Daniel sat alone in his apartment. The city outside was silent. Rain tapped against the window. His phone screen glowed in the darkness. A single message had arrived from an unknown number. It contained only 7 words. You are right. They want you gone. Daniel stared at the screen. His heart pounded. Who sent it? Who wanted him gone? And why? He tried calling the number. No answer. He sent a reply. Nothing. Minutes later, another message arrived. Watch everyone. Trust nobody. Daniel barely slept. The next morning, every ordinary interaction felt different. The cashier at the grocery store looked suspicious. The neighbor in the hallway seemed strange. Even his closest friends suddenly felt like strangers. The message had planted a seed. A tiny seed of fear. And fear grows quickly when it is fed. Days passed. Then weeks. More anonymous messages arrived. Each one darker than the last. They are watching. They are waiting. They know your next move. Daniel became obsessed. He stopped answering calls. He avoided family gatherings. He checked over his shoulder every few minutes. He installed cameras. Changed locks. Covered his windows. Every action felt necessary. Every precaution felt justified. Because deep inside, he believed someone was hunting him. Then one night, something happened. A camera notification appeared on his phone. Movement detected. Living room. 2:43 a.m. Daniel's hands shook as he opened the live feed. No one was there. Just darkness. Then another notification. Kitchen. He switched cameras. Nothing. Then another. Bedroom. Nothing. The alerts continued. One after another. Every room. Every camera. For nearly an hour. When the sun finally rose, Daniel reviewed the footage. There was no intruder. No stranger. No hidden figure. Nothing. Yet the notifications were real. The fear was real. The anxiety was real. The sleepless nights were real. And that was when Daniel began asking a different question. What if the greatest threat wasn't outside? What if it was already inside? That question changed everything. Because the human mind is a powerful thing. It can build empires. Create masterpieces. Solve impossible problems. But it can also become its own worst enemy. And Daniel was about to learn that lesson the hard way. One afternoon he met an old professor he had known years earlier. The professor listened quietly as Daniel explained everything. The messages. The cameras. The fear. The suspicion. The sleepless nights. When Daniel finished speaking, the professor asked only one question. Who benefits from your fear? Daniel frowned. What do you mean? The professor leaned forward. If someone truly wanted to destroy your life, what would they do first? Daniel thought for a moment. They would make me weak. The professor nodded. And what has fear done to you? Daniel fell silent. He had lost friends. Lost sleep. Lost opportunities. Lost peace. Lost confidence. The professor continued. Then perhaps the attack succeeded long before you discovered it. Those words hit Daniel harder than any threat ever could. Because they were true. His life had become smaller. His world had become darker. His future had become narrower. Not because of an enemy. Because of fear. But the story doesn't end there. Because the anonymous messages continued. And eventually, Daniel tracked them. After months of searching, he finally discovered where they were coming from. The truth shocked him. The messages weren't being sent by a criminal mastermind. They weren't being sent by a secret organization. They weren't being sent by a jealous rival. They were automated messages generated by an abandoned online system. Random words. Random timing. Random delivery. Meaningless. Completely meaningless. Yet those meaningless messages had nearly destroyed his life. How? Because he gave them power. And that is where tonight's revelation becomes unforgettable. There is a force that destroys more dreams than failure. More relationships than distance. More opportunities than bad luck. More futures than poverty. That force is uncontrolled fear. Fear convinces people to stop trying. Fear convinces people to quit before they begin. Fear convinces people to see enemies where none exist. Fear whispers lies until they sound like facts. And if left unchecked, fear slowly kills the life a person could have lived. Years later, Daniel stood before a large audience. People wanted to hear his story. They expected him to reveal the name of the mysterious enemy. They expected a shocking confession. A hidden villain. A secret conspiracy. Instead, he smiled. Then he said something nobody expected. You were right. Someone was trying to kill me. The room became silent. Everyone leaned forward. Daniel continued. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a criminal. It wasn't a person hiding in the dark. It was fear. The audience stared. Some nodded. Others looked confused. But Daniel wasn't finished. Fear tried to kill my confidence. Fear tried to kill my future. Fear tried to kill my friendships. Fear tried to kill my dreams. Fear tried to kill the person I was meant to become. And for a while, it almost succeeded. The room remained completely silent. Because deep down, everyone understood exactly what he meant. Every person has felt fear. Every person has doubted themselves. Every person has imagined worst-case scenarios. Every person has allowed worry to steal moments that can never be recovered. That is why this story matters. Because the most dangerous battles are often invisible. The greatest threats rarely announce themselves. And the enemy that causes the most damage is often the one living quietly inside your own thoughts. So now we return to the title. You are 100% right. Someone is trying to kill you very badly. The name is fear. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of judgment. Fear of change. Fear of uncertainty. Fear of what might happen. Fear of what people think. Fear of taking the first step. Fear of becoming who you truly are. That is the enemy. And unlike every other enemy, this one grows stronger every time you obey it. But it grows weaker every time you face it. One decision at a time. One step at a time. One brave moment at a time. Because the moment you stop feeding fear, its power begins to disappear. And the moment you stop running from it, you discover something extraordinary. The monster was never as powerful as it wanted you to believe. The chains were never as strong as they looked. And the future was never as hopeless as fear made it seem. Remember this. The next time fear whispers that you cannot succeed, take the step. The next time fear tells you to stay silent, speak. The next time fear tells you to quit, keep moving. Because your greatest victory begins the moment you recognize the real enemy. And now you know its name. The moment you know the enemy's name, the battle changes. Because an unseen enemy is terrifying. But a revealed enemy is vulnerable. Daniel believed that once he identified fear, everything would become easy. He thought the sleepless nights would disappear. He thought the anxiety would vanish. He thought confidence would suddenly return. He was wrong. Because fear rarely leaves quietly. When fear realizes it has been exposed, it changes its strategy. It becomes smarter. More subtle. More convincing. And what happened next would teach Daniel a lesson he never forgot. 3 months after his speech, life seemed better. His friendships were healing. His business was growing. His smile had returned. Everything appeared to be moving in the right direction. Then one afternoon, an opportunity arrived. A major company wanted to partner with him. It was the kind of opportunity people wait years to receive. The meeting was scheduled for the following week. Everyone around him was excited. Everyone congratulated him. Everyone said the same thing. This could change your life. But that night, fear returned. Not as panic. Not as anxiety. Not as a nightmare. It returned as a whisper. A calm, reasonable whisper. What if you fail? Daniel ignored it. The whisper returned. What if you're not good enough? He tried to focus on something else. Then it came again. What if everyone discovers you're not as talented as they think? The word sounded logical. Reasonable. Even intelligent. That is what makes fear so dangerous. It rarely arrives wearing a mask labeled fear. It often disguises itself as caution, logic, preparation, common sense. For the next several days, Daniel's excitement slowly transformed into doubt. The opportunity that once felt exciting now felt terrifying. The future that once felt bright now felt uncertain. And then fear delivered its most powerful weapon. A question. What if you don't deserve success? That question hit harder than anything else. Because it awakened old memories. Old mistakes. Old failures. Old embarrassments. Old regrets. Suddenly Daniel wasn't thinking about the opportunity anymore. He was reliving every painful moment from his past. Every rejection. Every setback. Every criticism. Every time someone said he wasn't enough. Fear had found a door. And it walked straight through it. The night before the meeting, Daniel barely slept. His mind raced endlessly. By morning he was exhausted. Nervous. Distracted. And completely convinced something would go wrong. Then something unexpected happened. As he stood in front of the bathroom mirror preparing to leave, he remembered something his professor had once said. The voice inside your head is not always telling the truth. Daniel stared at his reflection. Then he asked himself a question. What evidence do I actually have that I will fail? The answer surprised him. None. Not a single piece. Everything he feared was speculation. Prediction. Imagination. Not reality. That realization changed everything. Because fear often demands belief without evidence. It asks people to accept worst-case scenarios as facts. It presents possibilities as certainties. And if nobody challenges those assumptions, fear wins. Daniel took a deep breath. Then he walked out the door. The meeting lasted nearly 3 hours. At the end of it, the company offered him an even larger partnership than he expected. As he left the building, he laughed. Not because he had succeeded. Because he had nearly talked himself out of trying. And that was when he finally understood something profound. Fear doesn't need to destroy your future. It only needs to convince you to destroy it yourself. That realization became one of the most important lessons of his life. Years passed. Daniel continued sharing his story. People from all over the world contacted him. Some were struggling with careers. Some with relationships. Some with dreams they had postponed for decades. And despite their different situations, they all shared something in common. Fear had convinced them to wait. Wait until they felt ready. Wait until conditions were perfect. Wait until confidence arrived. Wait until certainty appeared. But certainty never came. And life kept moving. One evening, Daniel received a letter from an elderly woman. The letter contained only a few paragraphs. Yet it changed him forever. She wrote, I spent 40 years waiting for the right moment. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to travel. I wanted to start a business. I wanted to tell someone I loved them. But I kept waiting. I thought courage would arrive first. It never did. Now I am 83 years old. And my greatest regret is not failure. My greatest regret is waiting. Daniel read those words over and over. Because they revealed another truth about fear. Fear doesn't always attack through disaster. Sometimes it attacks through delay. Through hesitation. Through procrastination. Through endless waiting. It convinces people they have time. Unlimited time. More time tomorrow. More time next year. More time someday. But someday is a dangerous word. Millions of dreams disappear inside it. Millions of opportunities vanish inside it. Millions of lives remain unfinished because of it. And fear loves that word. Because someday keeps people trapped. Years later, Daniel spoke at another event. This time he stood before thousands. The audience expected motivation. Success stories. Business advice. Instead, Daniel began with a question. What is fear costing you? The room became quiet. He continued. Not what could fear cost you. What is it costing you right now? Is it costing you opportunities? Relationships? Peace? Confidence? Dreams? Time? Then he paused. Because he knew something important. Most people fear losing money. Most people fear losing status. Most people fear losing possessions. But the thing fear steals most often is time. And time never comes back. A year can return as another year. Money can return as more money. Opportunities can sometimes return. But a lost day is gone forever. A lost year is gone forever. A lost decade is gone forever. That is why fear is so dangerous. Because many people don't realize what has been taken until years later. And by then, the cost is enormous. After the event, a young man approached Daniel. He looked nervous. His hands trembled slightly. I need advice, he said. Daniel smiled. What happened? The young man looked down. I have a dream. Then pursue it. The young man shook his head. What if I fail? Daniel smiled again. Then he asked a question. What if you don't? The young man froze. For several seconds he said nothing. Because he had spent years imagining failure. But he had never spent even 1 minute imagining success. Fear had trained his mind to focus only on disaster. Only on risk. Only on pain. And suddenly he realized how unfair that was. Why assume the worst outcome is guaranteed? Why give fear complete control over the story before the story even begins? The young man's eyes filled with emotion. Because something inside him had shifted. For the first time, possibility felt stronger than fear. And that is where transformation begins. Not when fear disappears. But when courage becomes louder. The truth is simple. Fear will probably visit again. It visited Daniel many times. It visits every human being. It may even visit you tonight. But now you know something most people never learn. Fear is not a prophet. Fear is not destiny. Fear is not reality. Fear is only a voice. And voices lose power when they are questioned. So if fear tells you that you cannot succeed, ask for evidence. If fear tells you that everyone will reject you, ask for evidence. If fear tells you that your dream is impossible, ask for evidence. Because fear often speaks with confidence. But confidence is not proof. And once you understand that, fear begins to lose its grip. The story is not over. There is one final revelation still waiting. Because Daniel eventually discovered that fear had an accomplice. A hidden partner. A force that secretly strengthened it. A force even more dangerous than fear itself. And when he uncovered its identity, everything finally made sense. But that is a story for another night. For now, remember this. You were right. Someone was trying to destroy your future. Someone was trying to kill your confidence. Someone was trying to kill your dreams. Someone was trying to kill the life you were meant to live. And every day that enemy whispers the same lie. Wait. But your future begins the moment you stop listening.